Today might be one of those days, the kind where you wake up and something already feels heavy. Nothing specific happened yet, but the weight is there before the day even starts. Or maybe something did happen, something that knocked the ground out from under you, and now you're moving through the hours, functioning, responding, showing up while carrying something nobody can see. You know this feeling. You've been here before. And the question that always comes in moments like this, the one you don't always say out loud, is this: how do I get through today without losing myself in it? Not how do I fix everything, not how do I make the pain stop immediately, just how do I stay okay while this is happening? That question is worth taking seriously, because the answer exists. And it is more specific and more powerful than anything you've been told about positivity or gratitude or looking on the bright side. This is about something deeper than that, something that works even when nothing feels okay. Stay with this, because what comes next changes how you move through hard days forever. Here's the first thing you need to understand: happiness is not a feeling, it is a skill, and like every skill, it can be built, practiced, and made more available in exactly the moments you need it most. Most people treat happiness like weather, something that either shows up or doesn't, something outside their control, something that depends entirely on what the day brings. And because they treat it like weather, they have no strategy for it. They just wait, hope it arrives, suffer when it doesn't. But the people who stay genuinely grounded on hard days, who maintain something real and stable even inside real difficulty, are not luckier than you. They are not less affected by hard things. They have built something, a specific, internal, practiced capacity to find ground when the ground beneath them shifts. That capacity is not a personality trait. It is a skill, and skills can be learned. You are learning it right now. But here's what you're missing about bad days. Most of them are not actually bad. They feel bad, which is real. The feeling is real and it matters. But a bad feeling is not the same as a bad day. Here's what actually happens on most days we call bad. One thing goes wrong, or two things, sometimes three. And then the brain, doing exactly what it was built to do, starts connecting them, building a narrative, gathering evidence, assembling a case for why today is a disaster, why things aren't working, why this is part of a larger pattern of things going wrong. And suddenly the spilled coffee and the difficult meeting and the unanswered message become proof of something much larger. The story writes itself so fast you don't notice it's being written. You just live inside it. And here's what that story cost you. It takes a day that had difficult moments, which all days do, and turns it into a day that was entirely bad, which most days are not. But the story made it feel that way. And feeling is believing. This is where the work starts, not in the day, in the story you're telling about the day. Here's something that changes everything. Your brain is not on your side on bad days. Not because it's broken, because it's biased. There is a documented cognitive tendency called negativity bias. The brain registers negative experiences more strongly than positive ones, stores them more deeply, retrieves them more easily. This was not a design flaw. It was a survival advantage. The ancestors who remembered where the danger was stayed alive longer than the ones who remembered where the pleasant flowers were. So the brain learned to prioritize the bad, to notice it faster, weight it more heavily, build more elaborate responses around it. But here's what that means for you on a bad day. The brain is not giving you an accurate report of reality. It is giving you a threat-biased report, a report that overweights the difficult and underweights the neutral and the good. And if you take that report as objective truth, if you let the threat-biased account of the day become your understanding of the day, you are navigating reality with a distorted map. Not your fault, not a character flaw, just how the hardware works. Knowing this doesn't make the hard things not hard, but it does mean you can hold the brain's report a little more loosely. Can ask, is this actually as bad as it feels? Or is this the negativity bias doing its job? Most of the time, the honest answer is somewhere in the middle. Things are hard, and they are not as bad as the initial report suggested. Now here's the hook that most people never see coming. The worst days are not the enemy. They are the curriculum. Stay with that. Every hard day you have ever moved through has deposited something into you. Resilience, perspective, the specific earned knowledge that you can get through hard things because you have gotten through hard things. Every difficult moment you've survived without being destroyed by it has added to a very specific account. The account of evidence about who you are under pressure. And that evidence, the track record of having gotten through things, is one of the most powerful resources available to you on a bad day. Not affirmations, not positive thinking. Your own history, the proof accumulated through lived experience that you are someone who makes it through. That is not nothing. That is everything on a day when everything feels uncertain. Let's get specific, because the theory matters. But what you do in the actual hard moment matters more. Here's the first practice, and it is the one that works fastest. Name what's happening, not to other people necessarily, to yourself, out loud if possible, internally if not. I'm having a hard day. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. This is grief. This is anxiety. This is frustration. Name it specifically. Here's why this works. The act of labeling an emotional state engages the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, and engaging the rational brain changes the balance of power between the emotional system and the thinking system. It doesn't make the feeling disappear. It makes the feeling something you are observing rather than something you are inside. The shift from inside the feeling to outside it even slightly is the shift from being swept away to being able to choose what comes next. And choice, even one small choice, breaks the helplessness that bad days are built on. Here's something most people get wrong on hard days. They try to feel better, immediately, directly, through whatever produces the fastest relief. The phone, the food, the distraction, the entertainment that fills the space where the feeling would otherwise live. And it works. For a while. For as long as the distraction lasts, and then the feeling is still there, sometimes heavier than before, because it didn't get processed. It got suppressed. And suppressed things don't disappear, they compress. Here's the alternative. Feel it without fixing it. This sounds wrong. Every instinct argues against it. The nervous system wants resolution, not residence. But here's what actually happens when you allow the feeling rather than fighting it. Feelings that are allowed to be present, that are not fought, not suppressed, not escaped, tend to move. That's what emotion actually means. Energy in motion. Feelings are designed to move through you. They get stuck when they're blocked. When you fight them. When you escape them before they've done what they came to do. Let the hard day be hard. Let the feeling be real. Don't rush it out. Don't perform okayness before okayness arrives. Give the feeling the space to move, and then watch what happens on the other side of it. Here's the midpoint truth that most people never hear. The goal on a bad day is not to be happy. It is to be present. Here's what this means. Happiness as a destination, as the thing you're trying to reach, the state you're trying to restore, creates a gap between where you are and where you're trying to get. And that gap on a hard day feels enormous, so enormous that it becomes discouraging, so enormous that not reaching it feels like another failure. Presence is different. Presence says, I am here. This is happening. This is real. I don't have to fix it or rush past it or pretend it's something other than what it is. I can be fully here in this actual moment with what's actually true. And from that presence, from that full, honest contact with what is something becomes possible that the rushing toward happiness prevents. The moment reveals what it contains, which is sometimes more than you expected. Even in hard days there are moments, small ones. The coffee that's exactly the right temperature. The song that arrives at the right time. The person who asks how you are and actually waits for the answer. The light coming through the window at the angle that makes everything look briefly okay. These moments don't fix the day. They don't resolve the difficulty, but they are real. And a mind that is present, not rushing toward better, can receive them. And receiving them changes the texture of the day, not from bad to good, from unbearable to something that can be moved through. Now here's what you're missing about the people who seem to handle hard days well. They don't have fewer hard days. They have better defaults. Defaults are the behaviors, faults, and habits that run automatically when things get difficult, when you're not consciously choosing. When the day is taking more than you have, and the deliberate version of you is running low. For most people, the defaults were installed without intention. From childhood, from environment, from what was modeled, and some of those defaults are not serving the hard days, reaching for numbing when the feeling is too much, isolating when connection is what's actually needed, catastrophizing when the situation is difficult but survivable, ruminating when what's needed is rest. These are not character flaws, they are defaults, automatic responses to difficulty, and defaults can be changed, not by willpower in the moment, by building new patterns before the moment arrives, so that when the hard day comes, and it will come, the new default is ready. Not perfect, but available. Let's talk about the body, because this is the piece that most people skip on hard days, and it is one of the most powerful interventions available. When you're in emotional difficulty, when the day is heavy, and the mind is cycling, and nothing is resolving, your body is in a state, a specific physiological state, stress chemistry in the bloodstream, cortisol elevated, breathing shallower than normal, muscles holding more tension than you're aware of, and the mind running inside a body in that state cannot access its full capacity, its clearest thinking, its most grounded perspective, its most generous interpretation of what's happening. The mind running in a dysregulated body is the mind that catastrophizes, that spirals, that makes the hard day harder than it is. So the intervention is not in the mind, it is in the body. Move, even small, even briefly. A walk around the block, 10 minutes outside. Movement that is physical enough to be real. Physical movement metabolizes stress hormones. It changes the biochemistry of the state. And as the state changes, as the chemistry shifts, the mind running inside that state starts to have access to things it couldn't reach before. This is not positivity. This is physiology. The body is the fastest route to the mind on hard days. Use it. Here's something almost nobody says clearly enough about happiness. Other people matter, not the performance of relationship, not the presence of people who don't actually know you. Genuine connection, real contact. The specific experience of being actually seen by someone who actually cares. On hard days, the instinct for many people is to isolate, to handle it alone, to perform okayness to everyone around them until the bad day passes. And isolation on hard days makes the hard day harder. Not because you're weak, because humans are not built to process difficulty alone. The nervous system of a person in distress in contact with the nervous system of a genuinely calm and caring person begins to regulate. This is co-regulation. It is documented, real, and more powerful than most people give it credit for. You don't need someone to fix the day. You need someone to be in it with you. And the difference between those two things is significant. Find the person, even one who can be in it with you without trying to resolve it. Who can hear what you're carrying without immediately trying to remove it? Who can say, I know, I'm here, and mean it? That presence is medicine, more powerful than advice, more powerful than solutions, more powerful than anything the alone mind can generate on its worst day. Now here's the part most people never look at. The bad days are not random. They have patterns, and patterns can be predicted. And what can be predicted can be prepared for. Look at your worst days across time. Are they more likely after poor sleep, after periods of chronic depletion, after too long without genuine rest, after stretches of giving more than you're receiving, in specific seasons, specific cycles, specific relationship dynamics? Because if you can see the pattern, if you can identify the conditions that consistently precede your worst days, you can do something about it before it arrives. Not avoid hard days entirely, that is not possible, but change the conditions enough that the hard day arrives into a more resourced version of you. A you who slept, who has been moving their body, who has had genuine connection, who has not been running on empty for 3 weeks. The hard day into a depleted system is a catastrophe. The hard day into a rested, resourced system is manageable. The day didn't change. The system that's receiving it did. Protecting your baseline, your sleep, your body, your connections, your recovery is not self-indulgence. It is the most strategic thing you can do for your worst days. Here's what you're missing about happiness on hard days. You're looking in the wrong direction. Most people look for happiness in outcomes, in things being better, in the situation resolving, in the problem disappearing, in tomorrow being easier than today. And when those things don't arrive, which on a hard day they often don't, happiness feels out of reach, because it was placed out of reach. In a future that hasn't happened, here's what actually produces the felt experience of well-being, even inside a hard day. Small, present, real things. The breath, the warmth of something in your hands, the specific feeling of having done one thing that mattered, the moment of sunlight through a window, the relief of having been honest with someone who needed it, the quiet satisfaction of a body that moved, a meal that was real, a moment that was genuinely noticed. These are not consolation prizes. These are where happiness lives, not in the dramatic outcomes, in the accumulated quality of small moments actually experienced, and the mind that is trained through practice, through deliberate attention to notice and receive these small things, has access to happiness in conditions where the mind chasing outcomes has nothing. Notice the small things. Really notice them, not as a forced gratitude exercise, as an act of presence, of actually being here in this moment, which is the only moment that has ever been real. Let's talk about the version of you that makes it through, because this is the person you need to know. Not the version of you that is above bad days, not the version that processes everything perfectly and emerges stronger from every difficulty without any struggle. The version that makes it through. That stays in the day. That doesn't catastrophize all the way to the end of the story. That does the next small thing, and then the next one. Not because everything is okay, but because doing the next thing is available. That version is not heroic. That version is just present, moving through the day without abandoning themselves to it, carrying the difficulty without becoming it, staying in contact with what is real, what is actually happening, what is actually available, what is actually okay while the mind tries to make the story larger than the day. That version is you on every hard day you have ever gotten through, which is every hard day you have ever had. That was you. You made it through all of them. Every single one. Even the ones that felt unsurvivable. Even the ones where you were sure this time was different. You are still here. And here is evidence. Evidence that the system works, that you work, that the capacity to move through hard days is not something you're hoping to develop. It is something you already have. Here's the truth about happiness that changes everything. It is not the absence of hard days. It is the presence of something that holds inside them, something that was not built from good circumstances, that was built from choosing repeatedly, in ordinary moments and extraordinary ones, to remain in contact with what is real and present and still okay, even when much is not. That choosing is the practice. Not a one-time decision, a practice. Return to every time the day goes hard, every time the story tries to write itself larger than reality, every time the feeling is real and the brain is biased and the moment is difficult and the impulse is to escape. Return to, gently, without judgment, without requiring the return to be perfect, just back to here, back to present. Back to the breath and the body and the small real things that are still available. Back to the version of you that makes it through. That version is steady, not because nothing touches it, because it has been built through every hard day before this one into something that can be touched and not broken, touched and still standing, touched and still here. That is what happiness actually is. Not the permanent absence of difficulty, the permanent presence of yourself inside it, and that you have already, on every bad day, even this one, especially this one.